Yes. The Balfour Declaration. Otto Balfour, British Foreign Secretary, made the declaration. The statement he made was the legitimization of Zionism and the acceptance of a national orientation that would further trigger strict Arab resistance. Arabs saw the Balfour Declaration as a Western ploy to dominate the territories of the Middle East by planting its ally in their territories. Is it their territory? Is it a strange land to Israel? Were Jews not in that land before? Who owns the land? I will address that subject on another edition. I'm taking it one story at a time. So the Arabs became angry about the declaration by Balfour. So in 1920, there was the Palestine riots. The Jews, convinced of their aspiration, formed the Haganah militia. You know, today you have what you call Hamas. Israel says Hamas is a terrorist group fighting in the interest of Palestine. Before the creation of Israel, Israel also formed what its own Hamas called the Haganah. Are you getting me? The Haganah. The Haganah operated like today's Hamas. Hey. The Jews, convinced of their aspiration, formed the Haganah militia, which later gave birth to the militant groups known as the Igun and Lehi. These groups formed the defense force of the Jews against the Arabs. Western influence and support was paramount in the establishment of the State of Israel. The granting to Britain a mandate over Palestine by the League of Nations would not have happened in the absence of Europe's control of the League of Nations. It was the sharing of the booty by the victorious forces after a war, though with an understanding of the position of the Arabs. The Balfour Declaration therefore took into cognizance the need to create a Palestinian state for Arabs while projecting the right of the Jews to also have their homeland. Jewish migration to Palestine continued to increase despite efforts by Britain to limit it. You know, Britain wanted to handle it calmly, but the number of Jews that were now flooding into Palestine became uncontrollable, and Britain wanted to stop it. To say, no, take it easy. So what happened? Yes. I have made this point that the rise of the Nazis in Germany led to the persecution of Jews in Europe, and they wanted their own homeland, and they began to move into Palestine. This was the major cause of the revolt that led to the killing of more than 5,000 Arabs by British authorities in Palestine. As the Jews were moving in, Arabs began to demonstrate and fight back, and British soldiers could not help it, and about 5,000 Arabs were killed. But this dampened the zeal of the Arabs to fight back. Britain in 1939 imposed a restriction on the state migration of Jews into Palestine. Britain could not take it anymore. Saying enough. This brought Britain in confrontation with the Jewish militants, who resisted the move and began the smuggling of Jews into Palestine to swell their population there. Caught in the middle of Jewish-Arab resistances, Britain, after World War II, took the Palestine question to the United Nations to answer. The United Nations, on the 15th of May 1947, resolved to create the United Nations Special Committee on Palestine to prepare a report on the crisis. The committee recommended the replacement of the British mandate with an independent Arab state, an independent Jewish state, and the city of Jerusalem to be under an international trusteeship system. Are you getting the point? In 1947, the United Nations recommended that an independent Arab state should be created, an independent Jewish state to be created, and that's Jerusalem that is always a source of problem, should now be under an international trusteeship system. Did the Arabs agree to the recommendation or resolution of the United Nations? On 29th November 1947, the United Nations, in Resolution 181 subsection 2, partitioned Palestine as recommended by its committee. The Jews accepted the plan, but the Arab rejected it. The Jews accepted, but the Arabs said no, that they want everything, that you cannot divide Palestine. That notwithstanding, the State of Israel was declared on the 14th of May, 1948, after the expiration of the British mandate. Immediately, the State of Israel was declared. Arab countries of Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Iraq, with the support of other Arab nations, invaded Israel, leading to a major war that Israel successfully executed. Other major wars with the Arab world came in 1956, 1967, and 1973 on the same Palestine question, leading Israel to capture the West Bank, Golan Heights, Gaza, and the Sinai Peninsula. Israel has superior weaponry, and if you saw how Israel built its weaponry, you would be amazed that if there is a will, there is always a way. How the small Israel was able to take on the whole Arab world. So whenever they won the 1956 war and it grabbed more land, one in 1967 grabbed more land, one in 1973 grabbed more land, and this time they will grab land again. And Palestine, the Arabs keep losing. Now, when they grabbed the first land, they chased out the Arabs. So today, if you go to the border of Egypt now, you see about 1 million Palestine, the Arabs. Israel has driven them out of Gaza. So Israel will take more land. More than 700,000 indigenous Palestinians were expelled from the territories under Israeli occupation. I told you Israel took the West Bank, Golan Heights, Gaza, and Sinai Peninsula. I think at some point they returned Gaza. Though territories like Gaza, the Sinai Peninsula have been handed over to the Arabs, Israel's development of the settlements in other captured territories remains a sore point in the negotiation between Palestine and Israel. It leaves Arab consciousness at the mercy of Jewish vision. Zionist ideas propelled by Hens in 1896 has become that broad Jewish ideal. It represents the common interests of Jewish moderates, radicals, extremists, and they are expressing it in the war against Hamas.